Hi, it's Psychic Cynthia here again, Spiritual Psychic Cynthia Killian, and welcome to you. Welcome back to more tea time in the garden. And I am sitting down now because in the last video I was standing up, but I want to chill now, really enjoy my tea in the garden. So why don't you pull up your own cup or glass of tea and join me for tea time in the garden today. And I'm on a little bit of a roll today, and I'm thinking about some kind of strange things. I don't know, maybe it won't be strange for viewers of my Psychic Cynthia channel, but right now, what I was thinking about, and just kind of following up on some earlier thoughts, are people who think they might have entities. And I'm thinking about this because I had a conversation with a gentleman, a phone conversation, who wanted to have a psychic reading session with me recently, and he did ask me about what kind of work that I do, and well, I'm like, hey, I'm a psychic, okay? I mean, you know me, I'm sort of basic and straightforward. Well, I'm like, well, what's the problem? And I'll tell you if it's something I might be able to help with. In a nutshell, tell me. And then he shared with me that he had worked with another psychic who is a woman that I very much respect, actually, and I haven't talked to her in a few years, and she's older. I've had the great honor and privilege of working with many of the old-time psychics, and when I say old, some of them were really true elders, and close to 100. So it's just been such a gift to have known some of them, and I'd say their names, but you wouldn't know them because they never appeared on television or radio or anything like that. They were a little bit of hermits, or you just had to know somebody who knew somebody. But anyway, I digress. But anyway, he worked with kind of one of the older time psychics, but she was more out there, and I don't think she's doing readings anymore because she's off enjoying her life, her retirement life. But psychics don't retire until they're very old usually, if ever. But, and he did say that he was one of, in his mind at least, this is not me saying it, he just said, I'm one of the most difficult cases she ever seen. I said, well, I doubt that. Because I know she worked with a lot of different clients, maybe hundreds of thousands. But anyway, he asked me if I did entity work, and I have done entity work, and if any of you ever get to know me better, maybe I'll talk more about this in depth, but I don't really enjoy doing entity work, not that kind of entity work. I love channeling the higher entities, but I mean, I like to chill in my garden and drink tea and do yoga and meditate and work with my herbs, and I don't know, going in and driving out dark entities from other people is not a fun pastime of mine, okay? But I have done it before. I don't seek that kind of work. And really, when I work with people at this point who think they might have that, and by the way, I don't always agree with them, okay? But when I do, what I try to do at this point, I don't try to drive them out through my own energy and power. Can it be done? Sometimes. Do they come back when you do that? Sometimes, yes. What experience has shown me is that no matter how powerful of an exorcist you are, whatever word you want to call entity worker, or I don't know what word you want to use for this, no matter how strong your mojo is, if you go in and you help a person who truly does have entities, or even just thinks they truly do, you go in and help get rid of that, and let's say you do get rid of it, but if that person doesn't or hasn't developed new habits to replace what has gone, then they will fall right back into that energy pattern. In other words, let me word this way. The universe abhors a vacuum. Did you learn that, like in your high school science class? I don't know if they're still teaching that. But, that's kind of one of the principles of science, and the laws of science, one of many. So, a vacuum will be filled. It's for me, it's part of nature. I see it as very mystical, this concept. It's true. The universe, the nature of the universe, nature itself abhors a vacuum. So if you take something out, let's say you take an entity out, or you take out that person's belief that they have entities. By the way, I do believe spirit attachments are real. I have seen. Okay. Well, let's just say even if you don't believe that. I mean, if the person believes they have entities, let's say you do something to remove the entity or changes their belief about it, but you've left a void, you've left a space. That must be filled with a new positive energy, or they will fall back into some other pattern, a default pattern of despair, of darkness, of hopelessness, really just the same old crap, whether they have entities or not. And a lot of times the entities do come back, or maybe they don't, but they're still grappling, with their stuff. And that's what I wanted to talk to you a little bit, or talk about a little bit today. And, I talked with this gentleman and, about how really I think rather than me trying to drive out his entities, with a magic spell or a magic ceremony, which can be done, but it's dangerous. It's dangerous for me, okay, number one. And listen, if you're watching this and you're an aspiring exorcist, be careful, okay? I wouldn't seek that kind of work for anything, okay? Now, you might be thrilled and excited about it, but you shouldn't be. It's dangerous. But sometimes we are called to help in that way. But it's dangerous for you, because I'm thinking that if you're any kind of good exorcist, you're also sensitive to spirits. And guess what? When you drive these spirits out, what are they going to be looking for? A new host vehicle. Like, just could be you. So be careful. Be careful. So it's dangerous for you as a person, a ceremonialist, whatever you think of yourself as, a psychic, a cleanser. But it's also dangerous for the person, is what I've learned. If I just go in and drive it out, it can come back stronger. If instead I can work with that person, maybe to help them do some cleansing, yes, and maybe I might bind the spirit, or there's things you can do, okay? This video is not going to go into any of that. But just the basic concept of, working with the person to help empower them. Because the only way that spirit can hold them is if they're weak, if they're downtrodden, if they are in despair. If there truly is a spirit, even if there isn't, even if they just believe there is, that energy state holds them captive only as long as they are weakened. So the real solution is to help that person to become stronger, so that, their energy state can no longer be held by these oppressive forces. And whether you want to think of those oppressive forces as actual independent invading entities, or whether you want to think of those oppressive forces as, negative energy, or even just archetypes from within the unconscious, the shadow. There's a lot of different ways we could talk about this. What somebody might look at one person and say they're possessed, and the other person might say they're schizophrenic. And which one's right? I think both. I just think it's different languages, okay? Different approaches, different ways of describing the same phenomenon. Not that all people who have spirit attachments or spirit problems are schizophrenic. Absolutely not. Not in my experience. So, but anyway, with this client, rather than jump right in and say, oh yes, I'll start doing some entity reading work for him, I didn't say that. And why didn't I say that? Because I'm ethical. Okay. Because first of all, he's already shared with me that he's already worked with another psychic that I know who's quite competent for several years. And you know what? She hasn't been able to get these entities out. So, I mean, I'm thinking that approach isn't going to be very good, like just doing a reading to see what, and he was talking about past lives and different things. And I'm thinking if that was the right strategy for the situation, it would have already worked. I mean, I guess I'm also humbled enough to realize that this person before me is competent enough those strategies were going to work, I think they would have worked. So I need to look for something different. So it isn't just being ethical, it's being humble, being realistic, okay? So what did I say? What am I going to say? Well, I'm going to work with tools to help empower him. And one of the first things I say, if you're curious, if you have a loved one going through this, or you yourself are going through it, or maybe you're a practicing psychic or a healer, and you've got somebody who thinks they have attachments and you want to know what to do. Well, I don't know if this is exactly what you need to do, because I don't know the exact situation, but this is what I did here. And I discussed with him about making a cleansing bath with consecrated salts. Why did I do that? Well, heck, if he's got attachments, he's going to need to get rid of them. I'm not sure he has attachments, though. But one thing I am sure. I am sure that he is in a kind of spiritual or energetic bondage. His life force energy did not sound strong. He, had some very dark thoughts about himself. He was hopeless. He is despondent. So, the cleansing bath can help with that. And yes, if you do it with the consecrated salts, and there's other herbs and things that can be done too. I mean, they use in the Hoodoo tradition, which I do this sometimes too. I'm not a Hoodoo practitioner per se, but I do this particular working from there. They use the hyssop and the hyssop and the root. It's very good for uncrossing. So, let's get him doing an uncrossing, a cleansing bath. Let's do that first. And, I told him, I'm going to need you to do this even if I am going to read for you, because, if you've got entities, I want some of that loosened up and cleaned out before I ever read for you. I don't want to submit myself to reading for somebody who's got really deep, entrenched entities that are strong. I really don't think that's the case for sure. I don't know yet. I may find out later. Or let me put it this way, I don't think that's the whole case. A lot of times, it's not black and white. If a person thinks they have entities, it's hard to show them they don't, actually, in my experience, even if they don't. So even just that, you have to work around that somehow. You have to help them slay their inner demons. But even if they do have entities, it's not that simple, okay? It's just get rid of them. That's sort of the point of this video, really, because we have to build up their energy fields. I say the person has to build up their energy field. So the best thing you can do if you have a loved one who believes they have entities or who truly does have entities, you can encourage them in anything that builds up their energy field. You can encourage them, really start with the fundamentals. Do some cleansing baths or have them do them, but also diet in terms of nutrition. They need to be eating a strong, building, nourishing diet. You don't want to take a person who feels that they're under attack from entities and put them on a cleansing diet or any kind of fast. And why do I say that? Because those types of diets make you more psychically open. And if there's any chance at all that this person is being, tormented by entities, then you don't want to make them more psychically open, because that would just make them more vulnerable. What you want to do instead is encourage them to become more strong. The energy movement practices are very good for that. So you can do yoga, you can do Tai Chi, you can do Qigong. Actually, just aerobics or running or weightlifting. These kinds of very yang, energetic. You may not have energy to do that at first. You may not feel like you do. But if you do a little of it, you'll see that entities will leave. Actually, the stronger you become on that level. Because the thing about this kind of, exercise, any exercise actually, so if you just get up and move around, that's a start. As we strengthen our physical bodies, we pull the energy down from the cosmos, so to speak. It's not in the sky, by the way, but that's just the way we think of it, you know. We pull it from the higher, finer vibrations and we ground it into our body, and then it spreads back out and increases our vitality. I mean, that's why I'm religious about my physical exercise. 365 days a year, no breaks, okay? Now, some days I do a little less, some days I do a little more. I do different things, I rotate it out. But because I do work in the realm of, you know, spirits and things like that, and guides and, you know, energies, I don't want, you know, my energy field to become weakened. And you shouldn't either, even if you don't have entities, okay? You don't want to get them, okay? Not those kind, at least. So anyway, those are some thoughts on it. And my other thought on it is, you know, just because you have problems and challenges, you know, don't think that's all because you have entities. Even if you do have some entities. In my experience, I have never met a truly healthy and well-balanced person, a happy and well-balanced person, a person who was living life with zest and zeal and focused on their passion in life. I've never met a person who's doing all that and who has problems with spirit entities. The only people that I have ever met or worked with or even heard of who have spirit entities are very unhappy people to start with, who many of them, not all, but many of them have recently gone through a disappointment or a heartbreak of some kind, or maybe they're just disappointed with life, they're disappointed with themselves. And a lot of times, not all, but sometimes they're feeling very sorry for themselves and they're very angry at other people. A lot of times, not always, but they feel cheated out of life or cheated by somebody. If you have any of these feelings I'm talking about, and I think we've all had some, but we need to be aware of the dangers in that. And yes, let yourself feel what you're feeling, but don't overly indulge that. Especially feelings of self-pity. If you have that, and sometimes, hey, we all need to throw a pity party, and you know what? Crap happens sometimes, I get that, and sometimes you have been wrong. I'm not one of these, you know, naive love and lighters. I am a love and lighter, but I'm not naive. I mean, I'm a love and lighter who sees the dark too, okay? And I know sometimes people can do you wrong. I get it. And sometimes they can do things to us that seem unforgivable. If that's the case, reach inside and forgive them anyway. See the wind moving? The spirit is emphasizing. And the reason you want to do that is not for them, it's for you, because if you keep festering in anger or self-pity, or, you know, you just fester in these festering negative emotions, instead of letting them pass through you and acknowledging them and then doing something positive, you know, do something positive. If you're pissed at somebody, if they've wronged you, then show them, okay? Show them what a great life you can live. Show them that you can be happy. That's what you want to do. Don't wallow in it. Don't try to punish other people with your pain. These are things that you want to avoid if you don't want entities. And if you do have entities, these are things you should stop doing right away, if you're doing it. Because like I said, I've never known a happy, well-adjusted person who's truly on their life path, being positive, focused on doing what they love, who had entities. So, you know, there's a solution right there. If you are in that situation, try to do some of those things in whatever small way you can, whatever large way. Focus on anything else besides the entities, and, you know, follow your passion, whatever it is. You know, whatever is a true joy that is beneficial, that is uplifting, that is helpful. And that will help. And if you are a healing or magical practitioner who is working with somebody who thinks they have entities or might have entities, then encourage this person to be empowered in these ways that I've talked about. Because the more power the person has, the less power the entities have over them. And again, this is true whether you want to believe the entities are real yourself. I know some healers don't believe that entities can attach. They don't believe in entities. I find it really interesting that there's a lot of people who believe in angels and help from the angelic realm, but they refuse to acknowledge the presence of the opposite force, spirits who might do harm. I just think you can't believe in one without believing in the other. Well, you can, but it's really one-sided. But believe whatever you want, and whatever your client believes or whatever you believe, this is how you break free, I believe. So this is why, rather than trying to remove entities from people, I usually work with them to become strong enough so that energy just slips away eventually. If they want that, and you know what, some people don't want that. Some people want to hold on to the drama of their entities. Some people want to say, oh, I have entities, and they want you to get all upset and get all worked up and, do all this stuff and make a big deal about it. I don't do that. I'm going to go tell you to take a darn cleansing bath, okay? It's like the doctor saying, hey, go take an aspirin and call me in the morning. I'm going to say, hey, go take this cleansing bath, and then we'll talk. And I don't do that because I know if there are dark entities, if there are, then they're going to feed off that drama and all of that. So let's just not make it a big deal. No bigger deal than we have to, okay? So that's the final tip that I would leave you with in this situation. And food for thought. I mean, something to think about. And I hope that, I truly hope that none of you watching this ever have the need for this video or anything in it. Unfortunately, I know a few of you will have the need for it, whether it's you're helping somebody in this situation or trying to help them, or you yourself are struggling with this issue. So, these are some ideas that might help you see this situation, this kind of situation, from a different vantage point. Until next time, love to you all, and bright blessings.